Calvors dry hopped lager.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. This is the Calvors dry hopped lager. Calvors? It sounds like something out of fucking Doctor Who. Calvors dry hop lager. And I picked this up from Lidl yesterday. I went in there for some perfume. Not for me. The missus actually likes some of the perfume they do in there. Don't ask me why, but apparently it smells like a very expensive perfume and it's less than half the price. So yeah, that's why I ended up in there with the missus. But I found this sitting on the shelf all on its own. I think this was the last one, so I thought I'll have some of that. Now, I've tried some of the Calvors stuff before and mixed results. That's all I'll say. But I do like what their ethics are. They basically got fed up, as a lot of people are, with macro brewed beer that's sold in the UK. Now, I'm not sure where most of you viewers are. I would imagine most of them are in the UK, but there's obviously some from the States. There's a few from Germany and other countries in Europe as well. So you're probably not as, well, you might be, but you're not as much as in the UK. You're not bombarded with the amount of crap lager. You know, you walk into any given supermarket and you just get your usual Heineken, Budweiser, Foster's, Carling, and all the other stuff that's brewed under licence over here. And it usually is, in a word, shite. Now, I don't say that about every macro brewed lager. I think the Jupiler lager isn't bad. I think that's quite a nice beer. I've had that on draft, I've had it in the bottle, and it isn't bad. It's a Belgian Pilsner, tastes okay. No complaints there. The Stella you get in Belgium tastes quite nice. The Stella you get over here is dog shit. But that's just my opinion, of course. And this lot have said, right, we're going to brew our own lager. And I mentioned it in the review on the Yorkshire lager, the C84 Yorkshire lager, that lager really isn't a thing that the UK does well. And there are couple of exceptions, the Yorkshire lager being one of them, the Sam Smith's organic lager being another. There may be the odd craft lager that's pretty decent, but generally it ain't great. But this lot have decided to try and redress that balance, and they've come up with a range of lagers. They do a Dunkel, they do a Helles, they do a Pilsner, they do a Vienna lager, and this is the latest addition to their range, and this came out in 2020, actually last year, and it's a dry hop lager. Now, I'm all for experimentation, and the idea of a dry hop lager, yeah, it sounds good, but it all depends what hops you use. If it's going to be one of these American hopped lagers that seem to be getting onto the market at the moment, then I genuinely think you've lost your way by putting American hops in there, because it just, I don't know, it just doesn't go. It doesn't go with the style. It completely changes the character of a beer when you put American hops in there. European hops tend to complement traditional styles. Obviously the noble hops will complement German style lagers and some Czech lagers as well. English hops and German hops will complement traditional Belgian style lagers and ales, etc. But when you put American stuff in there, it just overpowers it, and it just turns it into a fruit cocktail. Obviously depending on how much hop content you use and what way you brew it, etc. But this is what we've got now. This is the Calvors dry hopped lager. I'm quite looking forward to this. quick word about Calvors. They've been going since 2008. They're based in a place called Ipswich, which is in Suffolk. I've been there. In fact, I was in a band up there a few years ago. Quite a nice part of the world. And it's on the east side of the United Kingdom, near where the Green King Brewery is and the St Peter's Brewery. Or is that? Yeah, that's Suffolk, yeah. And not too far from Adnams as well. So there's a good pedigree up there. The malt there is really good too, from that around that region. In fact, it's probably the best in the United Kingdom. It's got a bit of a reputation. So on paper, this should be a good one. But let's investigate it and see if it is. Right, quick bit about it. It is 4.3%. It's a 330ml can. On the side of the can it says dry hopped is our delicious hop infused lager, light in colour and delicate flavour. This carefully crafted lager is dry hopped and its final stage is to give it tropical aromas and floral notes. I don't like that, tropical aromas. I don't like the look of that. That's an alarm bell. Floral notes, I can handle that. Tropical aromas, Calvors beers challenge the flavour and integrity of mass-produced brews. You won't find any of those nasty chemicals or preservatives. We brew by hand using only 4 ingredients: water, malt, hops and yeast. That sounds good. A bit below says Calvors Brewery was created in 2008 to brew proper English lagers without compromise. Yeah, that was how they started off, brewing lagers. They do ales now as well, IPAs, pale ales. They sound a bit American to me, so I've given them a little bit of a swerve. Without compromise, we have been crafting award-winning beers since becoming known for our distinctive take on the much celebrated lager styles of Europe. Sure, we are passionate about lager, but we also have a good ale and brew a growing selection of international styles. Yeah, that is true. And I actually had a bit of a tete-a-tete with the owner of Calvors. I was complaining that they used the term dunkel on the side of their can. And I said, why have you called it a dunkel? That's not the style. The style is dark lager. But then I had to wind my neck in a little bit because there is another style called dark lager. So Calvors, I do apologise for that. I also asked them what sort of Helles they'd based their lager on. And I said, I've never tasted, they said it's a Bavarian Helles. I said, I've never tasted a Bavarian Helles like this. And a few weeks later, I opened up a Bavarian Helles and it was quite similar to what the Calvors lot had brewed. So I had to apologise twice. I don't mind doing that. Calvors, again, I apologise for being an arrogant twat. That's, as my mum used to say to me, as I was trying to fix my fucking broken boiler, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Anyway, let's get this open and let's see what's going on. I'm only going to use a little glass here because it's only 330ml. Wow, it's a bit lively, and that glass is fucking dirty. I don't know what's going on there. There is in the glass. A little haze to it, not a great deal, but there is a little bit. Medium to low carbonation on the nose. Oh yeah. Oh, that does smell slightly American. Oh, it's not going to be another one of them, please. Yeah, there's elements of mango in there, which in a blind test, I'd say that was some kind of American pale ale, like maybe even a New England as well. It's quite strong. It's peach and mango. Oh, that really. Right, well, let's not write it off before we've even had a mouthful. Let's see what it tastes like. Head's a bit stingy, but hey ho. Let's get it down the hatch, bottoms up. We dig in again. Right, right. There's some American style hops in here. That's a bit of a red flag for me. Thankfully, it isn't overpowering, but it's still there, and that is something I really don't like in a lager, because it just dominates the flavour. And yeah, I will say this is quite refreshing. It's quite warm out there. I've been working on the studio, just doing a bit of a tidying up and stuff, and I've got really dusty throat. That's why I'm pulling funny faces, because it's sticking in the back of my throat, all that dust. I didn't wear a mask like a twat, but it's quite refreshing and it goes down quite nicely, I will say that. But it's just them New World style hops. Do you know what I'd really like craft brewers to do? If they're brewing a lager and they're putting American hops in, just use the prefix New World. Just say New World Lager. And I think that would be a much better description rather than calling it a dry hop lager. Please, can you just try and trend using New World Lager? That way, I'm not going to be lulled into a false sense of security like I was with Cloudwater with their Pilsner. And it would just it would just stop me being lulled into a false sense of security buying stuff that a dry hop lager. I would have thought, oh, maybe they've got some noble hop, maybe even a golden type hop, and just throwing that in at the end, giving it some real earth, which is what they did with the Yorkshire lager. Now, I like that description, because when I hear Yorkshire lager, I'm thinking, what's going on there? And it was what I thought. It was a lager that was inspired by the local ingredients from Yorkshire. Well, not the hops, obviously, but the malt, etc. And you could almost call that a type of English land beer. But this addition of American hops and just not giving no indication of what it is, it changes the character of the lager. And yes, it is a lager because it has been bottom fermented. Well, I'm assuming it has. If they're calling it a lager, it's been brewed using lower temperatures, and it's been lagered, left to stand, and you know what they normally do with lagers. So it is technically a lager. But if you're going to use these hops, these fruity, really fruity style hops, for me it changes it completely. And it's just, there's a little bit of biscuit malt on the finish. You can feel that coming through, and there's a little bit of earthiness to it as well. So there may be some kind. There's no brew sheet, unfortunately, so this is complete guesswork. But I imagine there's some type of noble-esque hop in there, or possibly even an English hop like a Fuggle or something like that. That's giving it a bit of earth to that. But then there's a New World style hop in there, possibly Citra, who knows. It doesn't say. Oh, this is disappointing. And the reason it's disappointing is it's my mindset. Now, this may be me being like a pedantic little shit, but I like to have an indication of what I'm drinking. Now, I was geared up for a traditional style lager, but with just extra floral notes, extra lemon citrus, and more of the hop character, like grassy notes and herbal notes, which I've had from certain German lagers where they put a lot of emphasis, some of the Pilsners as well, where they put the emphasis on the hops. Dry hopping it with American hops, I don't know. So, for argument's sake, let's pretend this said New World Lager. So, this is now a New World Lager. Not bad, lives up to the description. there is definite American style flavours in there, mango, peach and passion fruit, that type of quite strong tropical fruit. There's a little bit of earthiness to it, as I mentioned, and some biscuit malt, but the dominance on this is the hops, naturally because it's been dry hopped, but it's just been dry hopped with American hops. Oh damn. Well, the fella from Calvors, the owner, is probably going to fuck me off because I've messed up twice already trying to dictate what they should do with their beers, and yeah, come out looking like a prat. But this isn't directed at Calvors, this is directed at most craft brewers, and they probably hate me anyway because I'm not being bad mouthing them, but craft beer isn't my thing for a number of reasons. Now, if people like it, fucking crack on. I'm not going to say, oh, you're somehow inferior for drinking craft beer. No, I have no problem with that. And if craft beer is turning people onto beer, then that's brilliant, because I've seen quite a few people getting into beer who normally wouldn't, especially women. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not into this PC bollocks about trying to get equality into the beer scene and all that. I don't give a fuck. If you like beer, you like beer. If you don't like beer, don't drink it. Right? That's as simple as it fucking gets. I don't get being rude to women because they're drinking beer. That's just rude. I don't care whether it's politically incorrect. It's just fucking rude. You know, these fucking dinosaurs who say, oh, beer's a fucking man's drink, women shouldn't be drinking it. Women can drink what the fuck they want, and you shut your fucking mouth. It's nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with me either. That's why I don't care. But I will say one thing, craft beer has got a lot more women into drinking beer, which I think is excellent, because the less people that drink wine and the more people that drink beer is the goal for me. That's probably not politically correct either, but I don't give a fuck. You can take your PC and you can shove it right up your arse. I don't care what colour you are, I don't care what gender you are. If you're drinking beer, then you're alright by me. And that's as far as it will fucking go. If you're drinking wine, I don't like you. I'm such a twat, and it's my first beer of the day. It is now 6:30. No, it's not, it's 5:30 in the evening. Let's get back to this beer, because I'm starting to fucking ramble now. I'm slightly disappointed with the hop content on it and the choice of hops, but on its own, if this was a New World lager, it's not bad. And yeah, it would live up to that sort of style. You've got your American pale ales, of course, which are brewed at a higher temperature. They're top fermented, and I don't mind American pale ales. They're not bad. I don't mind them as long as I've sort of got an idea of what I'm going to be drinking, because there's nothing worse than psyching yourself up to drink a beer and it tastes completely different to the style that it's not completely different, but it's not in the style that it's advertised on the can. But apart from that, on its own merits, it's not the worst beer in the world. Put it that way. So what is the verdict on Calvors dry hopped lager? Yeah, for me, and this is just me, it's slightly disappointing because it's got them fruity style hops in that come from over the water, which I'm not a massive fan on. And if there's one thing that's guaranteed to grind my gears, it's craft brewers using American style hops in pilsners and lagers. Now, I don't have a problem with that per se. It's just, please alter the fucking description on the can. Call it a New World Pilsner, New World Lager. I'll still drink it. It's just, I know what I'm letting myself in for. I mean, this didn't cost much, to be fair. I think this was under £2. It was on a shelf on its own in Lidl's, and I thought I'll buy some of this and see how it goes. Now, I will say about Calvors, the Dunkel that they did wasn't the greatest, don't get me wrong, but it was nice to see a British brewer brewing a dark lager. Now, Dunkel was one of my favourite German styles of lager, and yeah, it didn't really compare to the German stuff, certainly not the Bavarian stuff, but it wasn't bad, and I'll give that a reasonable mark. The Helles, not so much, but this stuff, as I say, on its own merits, as a New World lager, it isn't bad. But I'm going to knock marks off for the description. Even though it does say it on the back of the can. Well, yeah, I know. But that's just me not reading the can. But no, I'm glad I picked it up. But I just want to reiterate that point about craft brews. Just label your beers to the style that they are. I mean, that is a perfectly acceptable style. New World lager. Yeah, I would have no problem with that whatsoever. Because it is a different take on a traditional style. And I don't mind that, when, other brews, even the Belgians doing IPA stuff, I have no problem with that whatsoever. They use some of their traditional styles and they mix American hops with their IPAs. No problem with that at all. Duvel do it. And I get it. I get why they've done it. But, yeah, this, and it's not crisp, but they say light, hoppy and crisp. It is light, yes, I will say that. Hoppy, yeah, it is not the right kind of hops for me being a pedantic shit. Crisp, no. Lager's not crisp. Lager is smooth. Crisp is like a Gers or a sour. That's what crisp is for me. It takes on, not that I'm a big fan of it, but it takes on a wine-like thing. And that wine is crisp, in my opinion. Very dry and bitter. To me, that's crisp. That is not dry and bitter. Oh, relax. After all that, after the rant, I'm going to give it, on its own merits, I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10. And I think that's a fair mark, just for my opinion. If you're a fan of American style hops, you're going to quite like this. It's a refreshing drink, and it's a good alternative. If you're just a little bit fed up with IPAs, but you like that fruity New England American pale ale style flavour, you're going to like this. But if you're like me, you like your tradition, you like your beers to be in the same genre, not too much well, you can have your experimentation, but just give us a warning on it. I have no problem with experimentation at all. I want to get that out of the way. It's not that I'm pedantic about everybody brewing beer in the same style. Yeah, I'm all for it, but I'm all for the experimentation, but just give us a fucking warning. So yeah, after all that, 6.5 out of 10, and recommended with caution. And remember, beer is working class champagne.